you're
Yeah.
just joining us, I'm Brad Allen and I'm a Kansas City area drummer. I have a special guest today on Brad Allen Drums. This is Joel McCoy, and Joel is a former student of mine and now lives in Nashville and plays down there. And so I've been wanting to get him on the program for quite some time because there's so many questions. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
How's the
Thanks for
weather
having me.
down there?
Uh, it's warm today.
Is
So
it?
yeah, like the last couple of weeks, we got a lot of rain and like it got really cold and miserable, but it's starting to feel kind of more warm and lively here now. So it's great.
Yeah, it's beautiful here. I like to spend every minute I can outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Get out
So,
every chance you can.
yeah. I would like to start out today. I just wrote some notes and we can take this different directions, Joel. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but I had kind of some specific questions that I thought I would start out with anyway. First thing is, I know a little bit about your educational background. I was probably your first teacher, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, you were.
And then you went to another teacher to study mallets and other things like that, right?
Hmm.
And then I know at one point you went to college as a percussion major. You were either at a conservatory. Anyway, you can fill the details in. And then after that, you went to a recording school, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So fill in any of the details I'm missing there. And then also, I'd like to know what your experience was overall. In other words, like, did you get what you needed out of all those experiences? Or do you think, like, yeah, that was a good use of time, but that was not a good use of time, and I would have done more of this or that? What are your thoughts?
Quite honestly, when I found out real quick, so I studied music education at a place called Tabor College in a small town in Kansas, Hillsboro, Kansas, like one of those blinking you miss it kind of towns, like it's so small. Um, and I heard that they had a good music program, and like I always knew that I wanted to be a touring drummer, like playing in rock bands or like playing for like solo artists or whatever, doing like studio session work. Like I always knew that, but like in our typical education system, people always kind of just classify that as a pipe dream. And you need to have something to fall back on. So I went with music ed because it's like, well, if it doesn't work out, like if I never get my big break or whatever, then I can always be a band teacher at a high school or something. But I found out I found out about a weekend I don't want to be a band teacher in high school. Like I kind of look at this as kind of like a God thing to me, because like in the midst of all that, it was 2008, 2009 is when I went to this school. I only went 2 semesters because the housing market crash of 2008 happened.
Yeah.
And because of that, like my family went into some really strong financial hardship. It got to the point, and again, like shows how weird the college financial system is. We were making too much money to qualify for a certain amount of financial aid, but we weren't making enough money for me to be able to pay the difference every semester. So I basically was forced to drop out. With that, I also joined a local Christian rock band back in Kansas City, and I was with them for like somewhere between 7 to 9 months or something, before that fizzled out. That's another side note. Bands come and go. The movie That Thing You Do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that movie.
Yeah. When Del Paxton tells Guy
Yeah.
like bands come and go, he's 100% right about that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't with that band anymore. But what I ended up doing was I went to Johnson County Community College because they have a studio recording program there that I heard good things about. And so I double majored. I got an associate's of general studies, just says you went to school. Yay. And then I also did the studio recording program, and I actually earned a scholarship through the recording program because the teacher saw that like I had a natural knack for it, and like he really liked the projects I was putting out and stuff, and so offered me a scholarship. And I kind of feel like having the knowledge of being able to run a recording session has helped me a lot more than being a music ed major
Yeah.
would have ever helped me. mainly because like I didn't want to be a band teacher. Like if you want to be a band teacher, by all means, go
Right.
to school, get the music ed degree. I found out real quick that I didn't want to. That like my heart and passion was with contemporary music, with touring, recording, playing shows like that, just being part of that. And since then, like since coming to Nashville, I haven't done a whole lot with studio recording. But I have Pro Tools is the standard, the industry standard for studio recording, and that's what I studied in the recording school. So I'm Pro Tools certified. But because I've been doing so much live stuff, I do a lot of work with backing tracks and stuff. And the industry standard for backing tracks is the program Ableton.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, and what's fun about Ableton, I say fun very loosely, is it's similar enough and just different from Pro Tools to piss you off. Like there's like certain hotkeys that I'll like if I'm editing something in Pro Tools that I know how to do it, but then like in Ableton, like like I would like instinctually like go to those hotkeys for Pro Tools, and then like all of a sudden like something on the screen would disappear or like would flip backwards. I'm like, what did I do? But I've also gotten a lot better at researching online and figuring things out for myself. So like I can kind of go back and forth from Ableton to Pro Tools now. Like if I were working on a mix for Pro Tools versus if I was programming a backing track in Ableton, like it's like so. I guess like to answer your question, like I feel like the studio recording education helped a lot more, and I feel like I'm using that kind of knowledge way more with what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because I had kind of a similar experience in the fact that when you're getting advice coming out of high school or whatever, people can only tell you what they know, right? That's all they can tell you. It's
Mhm.
not that they're trying to give you bad advice. It's just you say, I want to be a musician. They go, well, do you want to be a band director? For me, uh, the thing I always found irritating was they said, I was a drummer, really. I really wasn't a percussionist. I was a drummer, and
Yeah.
and that I found out that really went against the grain in academic teaching. It's like, no, you need to be a percussionist because you need to be versatile. I'm like, well, why do I have to? I already play the piano, I sing. Why do I have to? And so anyway, for me personally, the percussion did help me at least pass the military audition. If I hadn't had that, I wouldn't have been in the military, but I felt the same way you did. I felt like that wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. I understood the need to be practical, but yeah, I didn't necessarily. When I was in college, I would say, "Well, what kind of gigs can I get as a mallet player?" And they'd say, "Well, you could play in a symphony." I'm like, "Well, but I don't want to play in a symphony because I was going to
Great.
like
Yeah.
you. I want to play in a rock band or something." That didn't
Mhm.
sound interesting at all. But anyway, yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting to me because sometimes later you don't know what skills are going to come in handy, right?
Yeah.
And I had no idea when I was younger. I did lots and lots of sales, and that's what came in handy later, just being able to sort of sell myself. And I wish I had had a lot more, um, what do you call it? Keyboard, like data entry type, because I'm terrible on the keyboard, and I had no
Yeah.
idea that I'd spend the rest of my life in front of a computer. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Those are interesting answers, Joel. Good answers. I have another question. Okay, so the next obvious question I have for you: what advantages and disadvantages have you found moving from Kansas City and playing in Kansas City to a major music center? Because I'll just tell you this: when I was coming out of the military band, I actually had thought about going to Nashville, and there were a number of reasons I picked Kansas City, but one of them was I think that I thought there'd be less competition in Kansas City. And I will tell you that all these years later, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think there's way more than enough good drummers in Kansas City. It wasn't like I showed up here and they said, "We're so glad you're here because we don't have enough drummers." So
Mhm.
my question is,
Yeah.
tell me about the difference between working in Kansas City and working in Nashville as a drummer.
So I kind of feel like it's going from KC to Nashville, it was uh it was encouraging and humbling like all at the same time because for lack of a better term, I kind of felt like in KC I was kind of like a big fish in a small pond.
Right.
Like I never struggled to get gigs. Like I was always getting offered something. But coming to Nashville, it's like I can walk outside and throw a rock and hit
I know.
35 drummers who
Yeah,
can
right.
play circles around me, you know?
Right.
So the competition here, like it's much larger. And for the longest time, that was one of the things that deterred me from making this move. People were telling me like I remember I was listening to some podcast. Gosh, I don't even remember what the podcast was, but they had this touring drummer on there. He said that something like 600 drummers a month moved to Nashville to try
Really?
to do like exactly what I'm trying to do.
Wow.
And that, and I guess like if you're not careful, like you can just end up being like a raindrop in an ocean of drummers
Yeah.
and like never get noticed, never get a break. Like you'll end up, like bagging groceries at Walmart or something, and never really get to do the thing. I remember talking with another drummer in KC. It's a guy named Go Ray.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're watching, what's up, Go? um, anyway, I remember I told him that, and he said, "Yeah, but you need to keep in mind, like that's 600 work ethics, 600 attitudes, 600 personalities, and that's and those are all things that you have to take into consideration when like you're putting a band together. There's a lot of like amazing drummers out there that like they have a bad attitude and people don't like being around them. There's a lot of pretty okay mediocre drummers who have an amazing attitude and like people want them on tour with them because like they're just fun to be around. Like it's
Right.
just a good time, you know. That's not to say that you shouldn't worry about like your skill level or anything like that. And like you should always be striving for excellence, always trying to see like how you can improve and what you can get better at. But like he told me that, and then like the gears kind of started turning in my head. Like, okay, well maybe I should consider Nashville like a little more now. Like maybe I should just like because I kind of felt like I got to the point where like I was doing the same thing over and over and over every single year in Kansas City. I was like doing like the same gigs. I was like making the same money. I was, you know, like and it was never what I dreamt to do, which was to, tour like big time, like tour with bigger artists, like go out on the road and like, play for an artist that like people know who they are,
Right.
like
Right.
like know the songs and stuff, like have a fan base. Like KC had a lot of amazing opportunities for me. Like I got to be part of the opener for a lot of like nationally touring acts and stuff. Like I got to open for like Hot Country Nights at KC Power and Light. I opened for Walker Hayes, the guy who's got that song Fancy Like that was like really popular in like 21, 22, something like that. Like a lot of cool opportunities, but like but that's about as high as it goes. So yeah, the competition it's a lot bigger here. But and I can't speak for like the other instruments, but I know the drumming community here is super super tight. Like I've gotten into auditions before where like everybody else who was there is a buddy of mine, and we're all just like hanging out and vibing before it's like your turn to go into audition, and like we all like, and whoever gets the gig, like we're all happy for him. Like there's no um
Not
there's,
cut
there's
through.
there's no one like being salty about it,
Yeah.
like if this guy got it but like I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I just know that that's how the drumming community is. Like I would assume like the guitar or bass play community is the same way, but drums are my thing, so that's what I know.
Yeah. Sure. Well, and they're just you. I think you hit the nail right on the head. Like, and I have told students this in the past is that you have possibilities in a place like Nashville that you just don't have those possibilities in Kansas City or Omaha, Nebraska, where I was originally from. You can
Yeah.
work in those areas, but the chances of you ever actually getting with someone who's going to get a major record deal or something are pretty much, it's just probably not going to happen in Kansas City unless they happen to get signed out of Kansas City or something. Or, I knew of a jazz singer years ago that happened to her, Karin Allison, but basically someone from San Francisco heard her recordings and, you know what I mean? They signed her from San Francisco and then she left
Mhm.
Kansas City, of course. But
Yeah.
you have those possibilities there, right? So,
Mhm.
and that's what you don't have. The other thing, Joel, I think that most people don't realize, and I've dealt with this stereotype my entire life, but it's kind of a pet peeve of mine, to be honest, but people think in the music business, when they think of the music business, because the only exposure they have to it is the rich and famous people, they instantly think, well, you're either, like Taylor Swift or you're broke. And as you know, there's all different levels in between. There's people who are very successful at what they're doing, but there may not be a household name yet, right? But there's
Yeah.
lots of places for people in the industry to work. It's
Mhm.
not like you're waiting for to go on tour with Tim McGraw, or else you're just sitting at home.
Yeah, there's tons of opportunity. Like here in Nashville, we've got Broadway, which is just I don't know the exact number, but there's a lot of bars that go up and down the street, and every bar has like multiple floors, even like one place. Actually, I'm playing there tonight. Kid Rock's bar has like I think 4 floors to it, and every single floor has a band that's doing covers, taking requests and stuff. Some people make really good money playing down there. I When I first came to town, I remember somebody saying that some touring companies like get frustrated with Broadway because like they lose a lot of good players to it. Because like if you get into like a good flow on Broadway, you can potentially make a six-figure income,
Really?
and yeah, and sleep in your own bed at night.
Yeah, right.
Um, it's the only thing is like because like the way it works is like you get a base pay, so like there's a certain amount of money that the bar pays you, and it varies, like it depends on which club you're playing at and what time block you're in and everything. Like it goes up and down, just depends. And then you get your tips. So the typical thing on Broadway, like what we tell all the tourists is to request a song is $20. If you want your song at the top of the list, start it at 20. If like 30 people went and requested a song for $20, throw in another 20. Maybe we'll push yours to the top of the list. And then there's a handful of songs that are $100 requests. Like if you want to hear Free Bird, you got to drop $100 in the bucket. The band at the end of their shift, they take those tips and they split it like 5, 4, however many people are in the band. So there's been some nights where like I'll only make like $30 in tips. And then there was there was one day I played 3 shifts in a row, like back to back to back. I started at 11 a.m. and I got done at like midnight. I felt like I was gonna die by the end of it. Like I'm pretty sure I was like hallucinating and stuff by the third one. But I went home with $800. It was
Holy
crazy.
crap. Wow, that's great.
Um, but yeah, that I mean that's just like one of many opportunities in Nashville. Like you don't have to be touring with a major artist to make a decent living. There's also a lot of corporate bands that are based out of Nashville, wedding bands that are based out of Nashville. I guess corporate and wedding are kind of the same thing. A lot of tribute bands too. Like when I first came to town, I was being considered for an 80s tribute band, and they were quoting me $500 to $1,000 a night,
Wow.
depending. And the thing was too, like I went and did a rehearsal with them, and it was like all the players in the band, I felt like I was like among Nashville royalty. It was people who either are or have been touring with like major artists. Like the
500 to 1,000 a night. Wow.
500,000 a night. I don't know what exactly happened. The band ended up like not happening. I think like well no, actually I do know what happened. Touring season came around and all those guys went out on the road, and then I was just they were like, "Hey, I'm still down." I'm just there by
Yeah.
myself. Um, because I hadn't been picked up on any tours yet. But yeah, like there's corporate bands, there's tribute bands, there's recording work. Like if you know how to, a lot of the recording stuff is for drummers at least. Either a studio has like their session guys that they already go to, and it's hard to get into that because like a producer's gonna have like his list of like 35 drummers that he goes to, and like he's gonna have to get 35 notes before he gets to you.
Yeah. Right.
um
Everybody else was sick.
or
Right.
yeah, or if you have like set up in your own house, like you can just freelance it and you know um go out there and just say, hey, I'm a drummer based in Nashville. I'll track drums for you, send you the files, and let your people mix and edit the way you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't have to be an A-list artist. Like, obviously, like we all want the A-list artist gig. But in the meantime, like what I'm doing right now is like I'm playing down on Broadway in between. Keeps my skills sharp, keeps me out in town. Like,
Sure.
people see me. Like, I'm getting to the point now where, like, when I'm like walking down Broadway, like other musicians are like yelling out the window to me, like to say hi and stuff. So like people are starting to recognize me a little more and know who I am. And every now and then, like I'll get like that random text or phone call of somebody like needing a drummer. And like the last time this happened, it wasn't even someone who knew me. It was someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew someone that knew me. So like I went for like 4 degrees of separation that somebody called me, and and then I went out to Chicago for the weekend and played a few shows with them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exciting. It's fantastic. One thing I think is really interesting, you did some acting when you were in Kansas City. You always did some. You were always involved with the theater. I remember you played percussion, right? And then you also
Yeah.
did some acting. And
Mhm.
one of the things that you were really surprised at down there that you ended up doing you do a lot of acting too now down there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of took me by surprise, and looking back, I'm like, I don't know why I was surprised by this. Like, duh, there's acting opportunities here. I get like maybe like 10 or 20 casting calls for music videos every single day.
Really?
Yeah, like, well, I'm in a group on Facebook, and like they post on there, and like, not necessarily people trying to cast me to do it, just like, hey, we need people for a music video. So I've been in a ton of music videos. Like, either just like a guy in the background, like with a empty solo cup, pretending that I'm at a party or something. Or recently I did one for an artist. His name is Reed Foley. The song, I believe, is called Moving On. And so, because in the song, the guy's moving on. So the theme is, this guy's moving, I think he's moving into a house. I don't know, like I put on like a mover's uniform, and like I was just like moving boxes in and out. But yeah, like the acting stuff, like I kind of stumbled across that. My wife actually first, she responded to a casting call. People were they were needing extras for a movie they were filming in Clarksville. It's out on Amazon now. It's called Holland. It's Nicole Kidman stars and directs it. She got my wife got accepted. Like, she applied for it and got accepted. And there's a whole scene where like she's like right in frame. Like, you can obviously tell it's her. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
She's in that. And so she kind of discovered the acting scene and started getting more involved with that. And to me, I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm here to be a drummer. Like, you go do your acting thing, have fun. But I like you said, like in Kansas City, yeah, I was in like school plays and stuff in middle school and high school. I kind of switched to being like full time a pit guy. I did like a lot of the community theater. I did like Shinovich Theater in the park, and the White Theater at the Jewish Community Center, and like those kinds of things. It's actually how I made a lot of my income too. And like high schools and stuff too would hire me to come play drums for their school musicals and all that. When I decided to make the jump to try to be a serious, more full-time musician, I was working as a pharmacy technician at the time, and it just was not a satisfying lifestyle for me. Like the money was great, but like the hours and like the job itself just drove me insane. And like I got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so I was like, I'm just gonna have faith in God. I'm gonna quit this job, and I'm just gonna trust that like the music stuff that I already have is gonna keep us afloat, and other things are gonna come in addition to that. So August rolls around, and I see on Facebook the amusement park Worlds of Fun was advertising that they needed scare actors for their haunted houses. And so I took a shot in the dark. I applied online. They called me and asked me to come in for an audition. And there was one time when I was in middle school where like I played a bad guy. And so like I kind of like tried to like you know re-enter that mindset when I went into this audition. And they assigned me to a haunted house, and that was my first, I guess you could say, professional acting job, because I was getting paid to do it. In my opinion, being a haunted house actor, or any kind of like when you go to like the Disney parks and like you see like the face characters, like the ones that aren't like mascot style, the ones you can actually talk to and stuff. Like those types of acting jobs, I think like require a lot more skill because you have to stay in character. Like I can't tell you like how many times like the house I was in at Worlds of Fun, it was a place called Ripper Alley. It was themed off of 1800s London. We were instructed to be like you're not hip to modern technology. You don't know what a MacBook is. You don't know what Instagram or Facebook are. You don't have a cell phone. You died in the 1860s and now you're a ghost. And so like interacting with the public as they're coming through and stuff and like, you know, like having like stay in character and like not know what modern technology is or like anything about like any like modern celebrities or presidents or anything like that. You know, people like coming in and like asking like what do you think about like what Kanye did? Like, oh, who's Kanye? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So you're required to actually act, not just stand around in costume or whatever, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You really have to
And
act.
and then that kind of I guess you know like I was kind of just doing that as like for fun and like as a filler as I'm like pursuing all the music stuff as well. But it was in 2021 I was doing the Worlds of Fun gig again. I was also playing for a country rock artist and she was getting ready to go to Nashville to record her project, you know, because that's a little industry secret. A lot of the guys you see on stage with the artist, a lot of times it's not who's on the album. They've got like session players who
Oh yeah, yeah.
record that in the studio and then like, you know, and then they send it to like someone like me. Like I have to listen to it and figure out what the guy was doing. I had an advantage with this artist because when she went to Nashville, I asked if I could come with her. I said, if I pay my own way, like provide my own transportation, hotel, and all that, like, can I come and just like sit in the studio and just watch? She let me. So I went to met up in Nashville, went to the studio, watched the process take place. When they were done recording, we went out to dinner, and I was just scrolling through Instagram on my phone, and her producer saw one of my videos as I was scrolling through, and he's like, "Wait, stop! Like, show me that." And so like I showed him it was a video of me doing the show Mamma Mia at Shining Mission Theater in the park, and he's like, "Dude, you're really good. You should live here." I was like, seriously? And so that was also like kind of like what gave me the push. Like I went back to KC and I told my wife, I'm like, I think we should move to Nashville. My wife got into the acting first. It was that Amazon movie with Nicole Kidman. And so she got involved in everything acting wise in Nashville first. And then she just like, if she saw something that she thought I would be good for or whatever, and like, and I didn't have anything else going on, she would make me apply for it. And
Right.
it's like, I can either sit at home and not make $100, or I can go out and do background for this music video and make $100. My wife found a independent film company here in town. They're independent, but like they're kind of like a little bigger than like, you know, just like people just doing it on their own. You know, they've got a few films. I want to say one of them might be on Amazon now. I'm not sure. She went to audition and ended up getting a speaking role in it, which then also got her an IMDb credit and all that too, which is awesome for her.
Yeah.
But when she was at the audition, she overheard the producer saying, "Hey, we need to find musicians because we got a recording studio scene where like the character is going to come in and she's like going to talk to her session players and stuff." And so my wife like beelined it over to them and like, "Oh, my husband is a drummer and an actor. Like, you want him to come audition?" And like, "Yeah, can you get him out here?" And so like she called me, and I was working a side job at the time. It was like November, and I was working on a Christmas tree farm, cutting down people's Christmas trees and like tying them to their cars and stuff. And she calls me and tells me, like, I'm at this audition and they need musicians for a recording studio scene and they want you to come out and audition. And so like I had to go to my boss and get her to let me off. I was like, "Hey, opportunity, can I leave?" and so she let me, and I went out there and I go in and I meet them, and they said that like, you know, you would be the drummer if we cast you. So not really any lines or anything, but as a formality, like we want you to do a reading for an audition. Like, okay, sure. Apparently, like I still got it because they ended up adding a line in the scene for me.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so then I also got an IMDb credit for that. And that movie, just did a red carpet premiere for it like a month or so ago. Yeah, about a month ago. I don't think it's publicly available yet. I think it was just for like the cast and crew, but it turned out pretty well. I remember when we went into film, they also had me like actually like play drums, like actually play the drums. Like a lot of times you do like film and music videos and stuff like you fake it, or like they put like mesh heads on the kit so it doesn't make any noise. And so I thought like, okay, like I'll just start playing like this. So just play like a shuffle. Like, okay, da, 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 da. And I just assumed like they were gonna edit out the audio and then, like dub in like the dialogue or something after
Yeah,
that. But no, they kept it all in. So like my actual drumming is in the movie
that's
also.
awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. That same film company came to my wife and I both like last spring. They started production on a horror movie, and we both got lines in that as well. And except this time, I'm not a drummer in a studio. I'm a gangster with a machine gun. Like guarding a room where they're like counting money and drugs and stuff. Like it's
Yeah,
it's rated R. It's not for kids.
yeah.
And I've
Yeah,
done
you
like
never know like things like that. Like it's interesting to me because what I always think is you had your idea of exactly what you wanted to do, but you were open to these other things. And
yeah.
sometimes you don't know what you're really gonna enjoy anyway,
Mhm.
right? Like I've had to do certain things that I'll just tell you in the very beginning when I started out, I had no interest in teaching. I had no interest in that. My high school teachers would say, yeah, most musicians make a lot of their living teaching. I'm like, yeah, not me. And I found out I really enjoyed teaching. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
so you just never know.
Mhm.
And I also do think, and I know you agree with this. I think a lot of it has to do with it's just you can call it fate. I think it's God's plan for you, right? He knows sometimes that you have your own plans, but he sees a bigger picture and he goes, I think you'd be a lot happier if you're doing some of this as well, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
it's been really nice because other than like that Christmas tree job, I haven't had to take any other side
actually,
jobs or
yeah,
anything. Playing down on Broadway and then acting jobs and stuff is like it's pretty much like taking care of us since we
right.
got here. I'm very, very blessed for that. Like I definitely don't take that for granted.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all in the arts. As long as you're
Mhm.
working in the arts, that's more enjoyable. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
more your wheelhouse. So the other thing I want to know, Joel, is what advice do you have for other drummers? Do you think a person should move from where they are to someplace else, get more training, just whatever advice you have?
Yeah, I feel like if you're trying to do this like major league, like I would say you need to go where the industry is. Nashville, New York, and LA are like the top three spots. Nashville, it's contrary to what a lot of people might think, it's not just country music here. The entire Christian music industry is based here. There's rock, there's pop, there's like anything that you want to do, you can find an opportunity to do it in Nashville. And I know like not a lot of people are so gun ho about it as I was. I know like there's family and friends and like ties to your hometown. Like at the end of the day, like you got to do what's best for you. But I would say like if you're gonna stay in your hometown, like be cool with the limited opportunity there. If you do come to Nashville, just remember there is no blueprint for how to make it happen. There's no step by step, one size fits all. I know guys who moved to town and got picked up on a national tour with a major artist like in their first 6 months here. I know guys who have been here for years and are still, working part-time at Taco Bell and gigging when they can and hating every minute of it. But
Right.
it just depends on like what you want to do.
You mentioned earlier too, it's not just about, obviously you have to be a good player or no one's going to want to work with you, but also so much of it is getting along with people, probably
Mhm.
showing up on time, being willing to rehearse, right? All those things. Because if
Yeah.
you're willing to do all those things and you have a good attitude and you're fun to be around, and the guy next to you, he might be a great player, but nobody wants to be around him because he's got an ego problem or whatever.
There's three main things that people told me when I first came to town. It's be on time, be prepared, and be a good hang. Like if you have those three, then you're gonna be fine. And then when it comes to like what kind of gigs to take, there's I believe another three things like is it are you in good company? Do you like the music? And is the pay satisfactory to you? If you can get two of the three, then you should be all right. I've been on a few gigs where like I did not have two of the three. So it's gonna happen. Just that's another thing too. Like everybody's got like a wild, oh my gosh, I can't believe I experienced that type of story. And
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you remembered this. This was one of the worst. You were playing in a band with my group, right? That was probably when you were in what, high school?
yeah, yeah.
And you were playing drums, I was playing guitar, and your dad was playing bass. And I remember we played a gig over in like Blue Springs, I think, or Independence. And it was a real hole in the wall. And we got done playing the gig. There was hardly anybody there. There was like two people there or something. And we got done playing the gig, and the guy goes, "Yeah, I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to pay you." Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
And I remember us walking up to him, and I thought to myself, "There's three of us and one of him." And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, you are going to pay us." And I just stared at him. I said, "You are going to pay us because you told us you were going to pay us, and you are going to pay us." He went and got the money. So,
Mhm.
you know, he must have got the picture a little bit there. I don't know. I don't know if we actually would have done anything, but I wasn't going to leave without my money. You know,
Yeah,
to me, that's
yeah.
one of the most embarrassing things. I've never failed to pay musicians. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because to me, that's really on the band leader. You know, I mean, most guys, I suppose, if you really got stiff, they might understand, but I mean, you hurt your reputation. Plus, I wouldn't want someone doing that to me, saying, "Hey, Brad, I'm sorry you played this gig, but I didn't get paid, so sorry."
That won't fly well, especially here. Like
Yeah,
they you know they say Nashville is like a little big town.
yeah,
So like even though it's a big town, like it's got like a small town vibe to it. If you're screwing over your players and stuff, like people are gonna find out and people are gonna know and people are gonna not work with you and
right.
it's not gonna bode well for you. For me, the last time that I had a situation like that, I unfortunately didn't realize that I knew people who knew the guy that I was playing for until after the fact. After I went through the whole uh, getting screwed and stuff, and they were like, "Oh man, I wish I knew you were thinking about playing for so and so. Otherwise, I would have told you to not work with him." I was like, "Yeah, where were you like 6 months
Yeah,
ago?"
right. Yeah. Well, until you've been around a while, you don't know who to even ask, I'm sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Those are most of the questions I had, Joel. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about or anything else you want to add?
yeah, and I feel like it's pretty well covered. Yeah,
Okay. Where is the best place that people can reach you and follow you? On Instagram?
yeah. Instagram is at Joel underscore Edward Music.
And I will put the link in the notes too, so people can find it easily. Yeah, I really appreciate your time. I've really enjoyed this, Joel.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it's
good
nice
talking with
catching
you
up.
again. I think it's been a while since we talked. I
Yeah,
think we talked on the phone a few years ago, and that's been several years now. So
yeah.
anyway, I'm
Who
really
uses the
excited.
phone anymore?
Yeah, I'm really excited, to see all you guys' success. I love watching your updates on Facebook and everything. So,
Yeah, thanks.
you've only been there. How long have you been there?
It's gonna be 3 years this November.
Yeah, so I'm sure lots more exciting things to come. So
Yeah,
maybe we'll have to get back together and do this again, you know,
yeah.
after a
I
while
also took a year in 2021. I took a year like coming out to Nashville and doing visits and stuff. So
to kind of get ready and
yeah,
yeah,
so technically 4 years, but 3 years of actually living here. But I spent
okay,
a year like being here all the time. People thought I lived here, but I didn't.
yeah. But
I
that
was like,
helped, I'm sure, right? Because you were already kind of established a little bit before you hit the ground there.
yeah, yeah. And there's also a handful of other Kansas City guys that were here before me that I knew from back in KC before I moved.
Oh, so you knew some people, yeah.
I knew a handful of people from that, and then like I was coming out here. Um, actually, I landed a gig at the Nashville Palace on Sunday nights, and I mean the guy I was playing for, he knew I didn't live here. He knew that but I was planning on moving.
Hmm.
And so what I would do is I would drive out Saturday, I would play the gig Sunday, I would house hunt Monday, and I would drive back on Tuesday. And I did that like every other weekend for like 6 months.
Yeah. But that was great because you could work while you were there and you could make some contacts. And I'm sure that was a great way to
Yeah.
do it.
Mhm.
All right, Joel. Well, again, I really enjoyed talking with you and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Yeah. I'll see you.